Hello and welcome back to Principles of Counting 2. I'm your host, Dr. B. Today we're going to be talking about the balanced scorecard and corporate social responsibility. These concepts help organizations to account for their overall customer satisfaction, investor satisfaction, uh, satisfaction to the environment, so forth and so on. The idea behind this is we take financial and non-financial information to help the organization be more efficient. So in doing so, we look at performance metrics. This helps the organization to assess how well employees or individual departments are meeting company goals and objectives. Many of us have been faced with this before. For those of you who have held a job, you may have had this thing called an annual performance evaluation. And what the annual performance evaluation does is it helps your supervisor to evaluate your performance throughout the year based on your overall performance. There might be an incentive like a raise or promotion or more training involved or whatever the outcome is. That's the idea behind an annual performance evaluation for employees. Uh, we do a similar thing for the business as a whole. We assess the business's performance. We we evaluate the goals versus how well the company has been performing over time using these types of metrics. Uh, from the business perspective, we look at operating income, cash flows to evaluate the financial performance of the company. We also look at other metrics that are performance based. Look, and one of those is called the balanced scorecard method. Balanced scorecard takes into consideration financial and non-financial performance metrics, and we look at the entire organization as a whole and how well the business is performing uh, using financial and non-financial data. A lot of the metrics involved in the balanced scorecard method are called leading performance indicators. And these leading performance indicators tells us uh, a prediction of how well the company will perform in the future. Well, ideally. uh, that prediction, the leading performance indicators helps us to predict sales in future months. And it's based off of trends. And trends, of course, are based off of changes within the company. So leading performance indicators helps us to project out trends, primarily in sales. We also look at this thing called lagging indicators, lagging performance indicators. A lagging performance indicators is based off of the data that actually happened already, like previous month sales. So a way to think about it is leading performance indicators, we're looking at future months sales. Lagging performance indicators, we're looking at previous months sales to tell us what's going to happen in the future. And we look at all of this data together to create a balanced scorecard. A balanced scorecard takes into consideration performance perspectives, strategic objectives, performance metrics, strategic initiatives, performance targets, strategy maps, and measure maps. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of stuff, right? The idea behind it is it's balanced. It takes consideration financial and non-financial metrics to help the organization to understand their overall performance. And in non the financial metrics, we have, your income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, all of that great stuff. When it comes to non-financial indicators, we're looking at internal processes, learning and growth, customer attributions. All of these things result in, they are a part of performance perspectives within the balanced scorecard. And within the balanced scorecard, we look at how all of these elements are intertwined: financial, internal process, learning and growth, and customer attributions. But all of these things are intertwined, of course, and we look at it through the balanced scorecard. Objectives of this are to help management look beyond your standard financial performance measures. Financial performance measures, as I had mentioned, are based on sales and profits and the financial statements. And we look at these other metrics and how they're related. So we typically look at, when we talk about the financial perspectives, we're looking at your income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows. And when we look at the customer perspectives, we're looking at things like customer satisfaction, ability to obtain and retain customers. When we look at internal control processes, we're looking at efficiencies, how long it takes to manufacture a product, any waste generated in the manufacturing process, the defective units. When we're looking at learning and growth, we're looking at research and development, employee training, retention, and satisfaction. Those are all components that drive the balanced scorecard. It's, again, financial and non-financial performance metrics. That's why we call it a balanced scorecard. It looks at the entire organization from that perspective. When we look at strategic objectives, we are taking the actions taken by the company, and we're also taking the mission statement and how those are related. So throughout our conversation today, we're going to look at an example from a toy manufacturer that sells their toys online. Okay, I know, what an idea. Oh, Toys R Us. Did you guys think about that? Oh no? Oh, okay, I see. So this toy company, retailer online, we're going to look at their balanced scorecard. And we're going to look at the strategic objectives of the company and actions that should be taken by the company. So here we have learning and growth, which is research and development and employee training and reduction. The goals are to train employees and reduce employee turnover. That makes sense. I like to keep my employees as well. Internal processes, I want to improve delivery times and reduce shipping errors. Absolutely. Who doesn't want to do that? Customers, we want to, oh, this is my favorite one. We want to delight the customer. Yeah, I mean, it's a toy business. Of course they want to delight the customer. They want the customer to be entertained. Delight the customer. And in financial, we want to increase profits. Wow, what a concept. Yeah, increase profits. Well, if you look at these objectives, increase profits, delight the customer, reduce shipping errors, improve delivery times, reduce employee turnover, train employees. If you look at the customer, internal processes, and learning and growth, It relates to the financial, to increase profits. How do you increase profits? You delight the customer, reduce shipping errors, improve delivery times. You do all these things. You'll increase profits ultimately. And so we can see how these four components are related. And that's why we say they're performance metrics. And each one is used for each strategic objective. They're interrelated. So looking at the performance metrics that measure their strategic objectives, how do we train employees? We look at the median training hours per employee. In other words, how long it takes to train each employee. We want to reduce employee turnover. How do we measure that? We look at the average employee tenure, how long each employee's been with us. We want to improve delivery times. How long has it been taking from the point of order to delivery? We want to reduce shipping errors. How many errors have we had in the past? These are how we measure it. These are the metrics. The word metric means measure. Delight the customer. That tells us what percentage is happy with us. How many customers, what's our average satisfaction rating online? We want to increase profits. Okay, so we can do that by operating profit and market share. And all of these components are done by what we call strategic initiatives. In management, we need to make sure that we have a plan. And we got to execute that plan in order to improve the business. So for our toy business, how do we improve delivery times and training our employees? Well, we reduce delivery times by automating the picking and packaging process. In training, we motivate our employees, provide them with pay increases when they achieve training goals. Those are great ways to do those things. And those strategic initiatives help us to obtain our better performance metrics. So performance metrics is the measurement. Strategic initiatives is how we obtain our strategic objectives. And of course, we set goals. We have to set goals along the ways to make these improvements happen. Of course. Looking at our toy company, we have several goals to achieve our performance. 100 training hours per employee. Average employee's been there for 2.5 years. We want to reduce delivery time to 60 hours or less. We reduce erroneous shipments per week to 2 per week. We increase the percentage of customers who return to the website 45% or higher. We increase our online customer satisfaction rating to 9.4 out of 10. Increase market share to 1.31% or higher. Increase operating profits to 57 million or higher. These are all the goals. These are all the targets. And how do we hit those targets? How do we hit those targets? Through our strategic initiatives and through our objectives. And then using the balanced scorecard, we can identify our strategic objectives, performance initiatives, and targets. Of course, it's all interrelated, right? Strategy map shows us how to get from point A to point B, cause and effect relationships to objectives. This is our map. This is the map. Right? Our targets. how they're measured, our performance metrics. How do we get to how do we improve the metric? Through strategic initiatives. We can see the map, how everything's related, how it's all related. We see the relation, how it all results in improved profits by improving my employee training, reducing turnover, helps me to improve delivery times, helps me to reduce shipping errors, helps me to improve customer satisfaction, helps me to improve processes. Profits. It all boils down to efficiency. How do we measure our map through our metrics? How is it all related? We look at our map to identify how everything's related. Helps us to identify leading indicators and lagging indicators. Remember, our leading indicators help us predict what will happen in the future. Our lagging indicators tells us what has already happened. So looking at it even further, our measuring map, which is our leading and lagging indicators, we can see the relationship of how everything is related. There's only two areas that are not um, really truly always tied to the metrics. Customer and financial. Sometimes the customer may be satisfied, but they might not shop with you again. So that type of relationship, it's hard to measure. And of course, that has an impact on the operating profit. So that's, it's part of the mapping. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to always work this way. But it helps you to understand how components are related within the business and how they're measured. Let's talk about strategic learning. We look at meeting our objectives through continuous learning, through strategic learning. Strategic learning helps us to hit our goals, helps us to improve our business, helps us to identify any inefficiencies through strategic learning. Our toy company, uses strategic learning to better understand relationships between performance metrics and objectives. And what that strategic learning helps us to do is identify the relationships between our customer and our financial metrics. We can see that the more I delight my customer, the more online customer satisfaction ratings I'll have. The higher my operating profits increase, it results in increased profits, right? But delighting our customers does not have a direct impact on the increase in profits. You would think it would, right? Oh, my customer's happy. Oh, that means my profits will go up. No, not really. Not really. It doesn't mean the customer's going to return. What it means is you'll have improved ratings if your customer's happy, absolutely. But it won't mean you're going to have increased profits. Increased profits. It is not a good measurement of customer happiness. It's not. Just because my profits are better doesn't mean my customer's happier. That means that's meaningless to me. The profits are generated from sales. The customer's happiness is not a part of that sale. They might be satisfied with the product, but that doesn't necessarily result in increased profits. Interesting, huh? And strategic learning shows us that that's the case. So reason one's not valid. Increased customer satisfaction does not result in increased profits. Reason two is not valid. Increased profits is not always supportive of operating profit. Reason three is a poor metric. Increased customer satisfaction does not always result in online customer satisfaction ratings. Like, for example, I'm satisfied with a lot of things I've purchased on Amazon, but you don't see me reviewing every single purchase. I'm satisfied with purchases that I've made elsewhere, but you don't see me giving those positive raving reviews. So there's not, that relationship doesn't always exist. But moreover, the concept still remains the same. When a customer's not satisfied, it typically results in a refund. That's true. Customer leaves a positive rating, the chances of a refund are pretty low. But it can still happen. The balanced scorecard, it's successful in telling the business of how efficient they are using this non-financial performance metrics and financial performance metrics. But it's not always the most efficient. It's like a nice high overview way of looking at things. So we use multiple scorecards, and we drill down to tell us more about the specifics. We do the same thing with our customers. A couple of biases with these balanced scorecards. Balanced scorecards, as you know, are made internally. They are not dependent on the economy. They are typically biased because they're made by management. There's motivated reasonings for manufacturing them. There's surrogation. There's common measures bias. Management looks at the balanced scorecard at face value, and that face value is perception, right? And so there are tendencies for people to see what they want to see, right? We call that motivated reasoning. And management does this when they look at balanced scorecards. They ignore bad news, rely on good news. They stop gathering information when results look good. They keep looking for more good news. And they interpret ambiguous news as being good news. It's a bias, right? So for our toy company, one of these measures is given out to the warehouse as a survey, and in the survey they can circle the what they feel, right? And those metrics are biased. They're being filled out by employees that work in that area. It is a motivated factor, right? So it's interesting. Another bias is called surrogation. It's where performance metrics are the strategic objectives. it's almost like being too vague, right? If you're too vague in your goals or your objectives, then your metrics are going to be too vague, right? And that leads to a lot of ambiguity or around decision making. Another bias is called the common measures bias. Uh, a common measures bias, it blurs the line for management across divisions. It ignores performance metrics that are unique to individual departments. Um, and because of that, management cannot efficiently determine individual performance for each department. So let's say our toy company has two departments, warehouse and sales. I would typically have a scorecard for each department, focusing on the same elements. So if I have a warehouse department and a sales department, and I'm looking at the learning and growth and internal processes perspectives for each department should have its own unique metrics, its own unique measurements. But the common bias measures tell us that the two departments are not treated differently. And that can cause problems in the data. And so, when we ignore the fact that there's different departments and we treat the whole business as one unit, then we expect that there will be a common measures bias. And so each department should have its own scorecard, and it should be treated separately because they're different departments. We know that they're going to have different metrics, unique metrics, and that's what we see here. Our last topic for this course is corporate social responsibility. The idea behind corporate social responsibility is that companies behave ethically, sustainably, and do the right things. Right? That is the concept behind corporate social responsibility. Uh, Behaving well within society, that is corporate social responsibility. Doing right by the environment, doing right by people, doing right by society. That is corporate social responsibility. That's what organizations try to do. We know that not all of them are good at it, but they try to do it. Uh, there is and has been a large push towards sustainability, using recycled products, recycling other materials, building out of recycled materials, um, being sustainable to help the natural environment and the society, right? That's the idea behind sustainability. Sustainability is very similar to corporate social responsibility. And we look at it from a lot of different aspects within society and within the natural environment, from perspectives of agriculture, energy consumption, engineering, transportation, waste minimization. All of these things contribute to impacts on the natural environment. And so corporations look at ways to be more efficient as they are interfacing with the natural environment and within society. Corporate social responsibility measures eco-efficiency. Eco-efficiency means how much waste they're saving through energy generation. So one common measure of eco-efficiency is the number of metric tons of carbon dioxide the company is releasing into the air, or wastewater they are putting into the ground, or mineral deposits. These are all eco-efficiency measures. And eco-efficiency measures represents the savings of those types of efficiencies. Energy, material use, fuel, waste efficiencies, they all represent cost savings for the company. Those cost savings are measured through eco-efficiency. And there is a major push for organizations to include their corporate social responsibility reporting in their financial statements. We see this now if you look at a 10K report, which is an annual report published by publicly traded companies. There is a section called corporate social responsibility. It's usually within the management discussion and analysis area of the 10K report. The company talks about their initiatives toward financial, social, and environmental performances to improve themselves, the environment, and society. We call this the triple bottom line. But using the triple bottom line, we look at areas within the business to be more corporate, social responsible within the natural environment, within society, within their shareholders. So corporate social responsibility in conjunction with the balanced scorecard helps management and potential investors to best understand the direction the company is heading. And so corporate social responsibility in conjunction with a balanced scorecard is oftentimes called a sustainability balanced scorecard. And it's where we look at learning and growth, internal processes, customer and financial, in addition to corporate social responsibilities. Looking at our toy company as an example, we have a sustainable balanced scorecard where we look at our employee satisfaction, we try to minimize waste, and we maintain corporate social responsibility image. In other words, we're constantly trying to clean up the environment, we're reducing our waste, we are giving back, right? And so those components are tied into the balanced scorecard, as we can see here. And of course, all of these items can be rated based by the company based off of their utilization. Of course, the objective of the companies is to minimize waste, to be more socially responsible through those types of initiatives, and of course to improve the overall quality of life of their employees. And we can see that here. The ones in red, of course, are the corporate social responsibility aspects. And of course, there's a global trend toward corporate social responsibility initiatives through activism and of course through discussion that's taking place throughout the world. An interesting trend, there are a lot of capital investments, meaning stocks, bonds, and other capital investments into corporate companies that have high corporate social responsibility practices. There's a couple of mutual funds that are developed of all companies that are socially responsible, and it's a way of being mindful when you're investing. You know, invest in companies that do good by people, that do good by the environment. And it's interesting to see it. It's it's a very good approach to overall wellness for everyone involved within the company. And of course, some of these corporate social responsibility initiatives might be required by law uh, and have economic benefit for participating in those. An example of that is, and some of you might have this through Pepco, the utility company. The less kilowatt hours you use during peak days, you get a savings, right? And the same concept applies to business. This is just an example of that. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 28 and the end of Principles of Accounting 2. Having said that, as a reminder, we're currently in week 15, which is the last week of the course. During this week, you have your chapter 27 homework, your chapter 28 discussion board, and next week, you'll have your final exam. The final exam will cover all the chapters from the midterm forward. So, if I'm not mistaken, don't let me screw this up, guys. From week 10 to week 15. So that would be chapter 22 through chapter 28. Chapter 22 through 28 are covered on the final exam. The final exam is 20 questions, a mix of true, false, multiple choice matching. 20 questions is 20 points, which is 20% of your total grade. My recommendation for success on the final exam is to start it now, take your time, save your answers, come back to it. It's open book, it's open note, low stress, just take it easy, okay? Take your time with it, be calm. I promise it's not difficult. There's not a whole lot of heavy computations. There's a few, but it's not too crazy, okay? Just look through your resources, look through your notes, look through your PowerPoint slides, rewatch some of the videos, look at the PowerPoints. Just take your time with it. You'll be okay. You'll get through it. Now remember, it's open now, so feel free to start taking it. It's okay. It's all right to work early. That's due by May 4th, for those of you who are not graduating. For those of you who are graduating this semester, I have reached out to you via email. I have notified you that I got your name off of the list from the dean that you're graduating. You've met all the requirements. So that means that you're eligible to take the exam this week. You have to take it then, but actually you have to take it this week. And so I'm sure you'll be fine. Don't worry. Are there any comments, questions, concerns, anything at all?
I want to say thank you, Professor, and I really appreciate the time you've spent with us and the lessons you basically taught me through accounting two. And I really look forward to really like taking more of your classes, cost of accounting.
Cool. Thank you so much, Andre. I really appreciate those kind words, and I'm confident that you'll go forth and do good things. Uh, and if for whatever reason, you don't have me as a professor again, I definitely want you to stay in touch. Um, you have my email address, you have my cell phone number, you have all of my contact information. And of course, I want
Definitely
to
stay
see,
in touch
and of course, I want
with
to see
you.
you. I want to see you in person at graduation at some point in the near future. So,
Indeed,
oh,
Professor. I'll stay in touch with you and stuff.
for
And I have
sure.
all your email and contact.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Yes, Professor, this is Angela. It's been a pleasure having you. taking your class twice, accounting 1 and 2.
Yeah,
So it's been a pleasure to hear about the
sure.
air conditioned story about 2 to 3 times. It was a
2 or 3
pleasure.
times, yeah.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to miss you, Professor. I
I
really
miss you
am.
too, Angela. I'm sure we'll stay in touch, no doubt. Uh,
Absolutely.
Although this was my first time taking your class, that's why I kept asking, are you teaching any more class? Because I enjoyed your class.
thank you so much, Tamika. I appreciate those kind words. Yeah. Okay, my friends. Well, if you ever need anything, you think of anything, feel free to call me, email me, get in touch with me, set up office hours with me, all of those good things. Also, if you have a LinkedIn account, please add me on LinkedIn. That's another great way to stay in touch. Um, and of course, tell your friends about my YouTube channel. I'm sure they're real excited to learn about accounting, but trying to spread the word a little bit. All right, y'all. Thank you all so much for your time throughout the semester. It has been an absolute pleasure of mine to be your professor. That reminds me, I believe the survey should be coming out for the course, so please take the survey completed. That would certainly help me and help the university. Um, in the meanwhile, as always, stay safe, wash your hands, do the right things. And thank you all so very much for a wonderful semester together. I appreciate all of you, and I wish you all a wonderful night.
Thank you, Professor. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all so
Professor.
much.
Have a great one.
Take care,
Thank you,
y'all.
Professor.
All right. Bye bye.
So much. Good night. Good night.
See you soon.
Take care. Catch you later.